Cool. So today we have Master Coach from Stage 3, Alexander Schimmel, and he's going to be sharing with us about the void and about the emotional uh, journey around that, moving through that before and after that. So with that, I'll offer it to you. Take it away.
Thank you, brother. My first invitation and request for you guys, if it's possible, to unmute your line. So it's like we're in the same room together. If it's possible, if there's a lot of background noise, I also have the ability to mute you. But if you can unmute your line, it feels good. The way I like to share, the way I like to teach, especially when it's a small group, is we have a conversation, so that's really my intention here. And then also video on as much as possible. Yeah, and I'll share that like one of my teaching styles is we're going to have discussions. We're going to ask questions. To me, this is probably my learning style too. I get a little bored or distracted if one person is just talking for an hour straight. So I would love to really, yeah, make this a discussion. Super grateful to be here. Yeah, I'm really grateful to share. I've been going through quite the evolution in my life, and yeah, just like back to back containers from retreats that I've been teaching at to retreats that I've been receiving to in Peru, and I'm on the medicine path, so working with some medicine, and yeah, just lots of expansion and evolution in my life. And it's really fitting that this is what I talk about, even though it was like months ago that I proposed this idea to the team, talking about embracing the void, the in-between state. If we look at the caterpillar, the butterfly, it's like the liquid state. And I'm going to talk about it a lot as liquid state. Before we get started, I'd love to just ground a little bit energetically, land here and now. So my first invitation, we'll do this 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 grounding technique. I don't know if you know it. If you do, beautiful. If not, I'll explain it. So first thing is just scan your environment and notice 5 things that you can see. Really working not to judge or label, not to be like, oh, that's out of place or that's beautiful or ugly. Just like, just be aware of your surroundings. This actually helps your nervous system feel safe because it's like, okay, I know what's around me. I'm familiar with it. And then invitation to close your eyes and notice 4 things that you can feel, for like the sense of touch. So maybe it's the clothing on your skin or the temperature of your body, the points of contact between you and your chair. 4 things of touch. Again, not labeling as comfortable or discomfort or uncomfortable, just noticing. And then noticing 3 things that you can hear. 3 sounds could be coming from beyond the 4 walls, beyond the room that you're in, or if you're outside, it's coming from far away. And then also notice the sounds that are happening close to you. This is a great tool always to get present, to get back into your body. Notice 2 scents, 2 things that you can smell. And you might just notice the air of the room you're in. Maybe you bring your forearm to your face, your clothes. Notice that. Maybe you do a little armpit check to see what aroma is living there right now. Again, not judging, just noticing. Notice the taste in your mouth. Might give you a little hint of what you last had to eat, or maybe just your breath in general, and just notice. And then we'll take a few grounding breaths to get started. So I'll say in or out, that's inhale or exhale. I'll say mouth or nose, that's what to breathe through. And each breath, stretch it out, let it be about 5 seconds long. So in through your mouth, pull the breath in. And then with an audible sigh, out mouth. Again, in mouth, O-shaped mouth, pull the breath in. 5-second inhale, 5-second exhale. This time, exhale through your nose with a hum. Humming also stimulates the vagus nerve. It releases more nitric oxide, more blood flow in your body. In nose. With a hum, out nose. Feel the vibration in nose. With a sigh, out mouth. Yeah, just take a moment to, you can keep your eyes closed, really keeping your attention inward. In yoga, it's called pratyahara. So it's, instead of being distracted by all of the external sights, sounds, and stimuli, start to notice what's happening inside the inner landscape of your body. And my invitation is to notice, this is a process of being centered. Notice where you may have left pieces of your center behind in the last few minutes, few hours, few days. Notice if you have pieces of your center, pieces of your energy with other people, family, clients, a boss. Notice if you've left pieces of your energy on social media. And then use your intention to pull all of that attention back to yourself so that you can be fully here and now. So you can imagine this ball of energy. This is your center, your energetic center. And it's like this has this gravitational pull. So all those pieces of yourself that you've left behind, that you've scattered, that you've leaked, it's all coming back to you, coming back to this energetic ball, and then pull this energy down into the physical center of your body, a couple inches below your belly button, a couple inches to the center of your body. So it's like your womb space. And then one of our energetic tools, it's the tool to declare, it's our clicker, it's the snap of our fingers. So to declare that, like, I am fully here, I'm fully centered, I have my center. On 3, you can snap your fingers. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, just take a breath, breathe into that space, breathe into your center. Know that being centered, it's not an intellectual process. It's not something to think about. It's a felt sense. And the felt sense is being fully here, fully in your body. And then to help us stay anchored, stay connected, to stay rooted, the next thing we'll declare is a grounding cord. And it's a cord that goes from the center of your being, so this energetic center, down into the center of Mama Gaia, down into the center of Pachamama. And on 3, you can declare this grounding cord with a snap. 1, 2, 3. And again, just notice the texture of this grounding cord, notice the color of this grounding cord, feel the connection between you and the earth. Third piece, we're going to declare a personal bubble of space. It's like your aura, it's your magnetic field. So that even if you're super empathic, when you have your bubble in place, you don't need to take on others' energies. You can understand their information, you can understand their feelings, but you don't need to take on their energy. And when you have your bubble in place, you don't leak your energy. So we'll declare this personal bubble that surrounds the entire physical body. It's the aura. On 3, you can snap. 1, 2, 3. And the last piece that we'll create is an energetic workspace. So even though we're separated physically, all of us pretty far distance in between, when we create this energetic workspace, we're in it together. And this can be a space of transformation. This can be a space of devotion. This can be a space of evolution, of curiosity, of vulnerability. So we'll declare this golden cube, and you can visualize it surrounding all of us in the rooms that we're in, or the space that we're in. And it's this golden cube that surrounds us. We have this energetic workspace. And on 3, you can clap or snap. 1, 2, 3. The void, the liquid state, the space between. Take a moment to just get clear on an intention or even a prayer of what you will give or receive in this next 75, 80 minutes or so. Maybe there's questions that are alive for you in regard to the void. Maybe there's certain feelings that are alive for you when you think about being in a liquid state. The space between. Let's take one more big breath in through your nose. Biggest breath you've taken all day. Fill all the way up, belly, ribs, chest. Even breathe into your back like you have wings. And then let something go. Open mouth, exhale. Yeah. When you feel ready at your own pace, when you feel ready, you can open up your eyes, come back to this space, and just notice already like a little bit different coming into this space, maybe the way you were 5-10 minutes ago compared to now. Just check in with that. Yeah, so this topic, it's one that I really love. I'm a human being that loves evolution. And part of evolution is navigating the void and navigating the liquid state, the space in between. There's a, I don't know if it's a quote, but I've heard this before, that among great artists, when they talk about what makes great art, they say it's not the brush strokes, but it's the space between the brush strokes that makes art so beautiful. Among great musicians, they say it's not the notes that are played, but it's the space between the notes that make music so beautiful. Among comedians, we know this too, that what makes comedy, what makes something so funny, it's not what's delivered, but it's the space between what's delivered. And I really love this quote, especially with the way modern culture has us view the void. And I'd love to start there. So again, this is going to be a conversation, especially this first third. I'm going to share some things that I've found to be true. I also just want to share that my way of teaching is I have the masculine space of having some bullet points, and also really letting the feminine, the flow, come through me. And I just did a little prayer before you guys came on, where I just asked to be a channel from God. My wish and desire is that God is the one that speaks through me, and God uses me here, especially for the people that are unique to this space. And yeah, may you receive what's needed in this space. So I'd love to just start, and yeah, again, invitation to come off mute if possible, and to start of like, let's start by discussing what is the void to you. Well, like, what is this liquid state? And maybe you take maybe you have an idea of like a specific moment in your life where you've really been in this void. So I'd love to hear from any and all of you about this. And there's no right answer. This is really just, this helps also create the context for what else will be shared. So just go for it. Yeah.
Can you all hear me?
Yep.
So when you first mentioned the word void, immediately my mind springs to like nothingness and black and terror. However, with how you defined it, I would say that I'm currently in a void. I recently finished grad school for mental health counseling, and then everything in my life sort of fell apart, and now I don't really know what's going to happen next. So I am deep in the goo state right now.
Yeah, beautiful. Thanks for sharing. And I just want to invite too that like all of this is welcome, right? So your first idea that void is emptiness, it's black, it's terror. Beautiful, beautiful. That's actually good to work with this, and we'll get into this terror, like what is, because this is a common thing for people. I know for me too, when I'm either approaching a void or in the void, there tends to be some fear. So we'll talk about this in a little bit. And then also, I think the way you define this of like the things in your life are kind of like things have fallen apart. Yeah, beautiful. Thank you. Caitlin, Eloan, you want to share? Randall, if you're able to.
Yeah, I feel like I've been in that state in some ways for the past 3 years, and like knowing I wanted to build a business and figuring out exactly what it was going to look like and what my offerings were going to be and what I was going to do. And then when you had us drop in, I was kind of thinking to myself or asking like, what if the transitional goo state is a building phase, how do you build from a place of liquid if there's no structure? And what came through was trust. I was like, oh, yeah, of course that's it.
Cool. Yeah, beautiful. I love also that we're sharing this when there's, I mean, your first two shares are that you're in the liquid state now in some ways. And trust is a big code. We'll talk about this later, but this is a big one. Eloan, how about you, brother? You want to share a little bit about what the void is to you?
Yeah, kind of what's been the most like common relationship to the void is like this almost like the primordial goo of creation, like this place where yeah, there is nothing, but it's like the full possibility of everything is there. Because there's like just like such emptiness that like anything can arise.
Mm.
And yeah, like in a similar void-ish state, it's like I've got some of the structure in my life that like okay, like I got these are the things that I have, and like but yeah, I'm also in the process of being like finalizing it. So like accumulating the things from the void to like eject into matter or something.
Yeah, cool. I love this idea of that the void, the emptiness is pure potential. I heard somewhere that many seeds, I don't know if this is true about all seeds, but many seeds are hollow, right? Like if you cracked open a seed, it's actually hollow. I don't know if all seeds are like this. I imagine they're not, but some are. And in that emptiness, right? One single seed actually has the ability to like repopulate the entire earth with trees, right? There's so much potential in the emptiness. And yeah, this is a big code, this idea of emptiness. So this also, so I heard some people say emptiness and goo and like darkness. What else? What are some like words that are synonymous? Also, I want to just honor Randall. I don't know if you're able to share. I'm going to give you a few seconds. If you are able to come off mute and share what the void is to you, go for it. If you're here just to observe and listen and be a witness, that's also a powerful space to be in. Oh, okay. Cool. Beautiful. Thumbs up. Yeah, so just also kind of in the same discussion piece, what are some words? I invite you to make a list if you have paper and pen in front of you. What are some words that are synonymous with the void? So we already talked about a few: emptiness, the goo, the pure potential, the darkness. The space between. I really like referring to it as the liquid state. Have any words that feel really resonant when you're doing this, guys? You can just speak them out loud.
Spaciousness.
Spaciousness. The mystery is a big one for me, like the great mystery, the unknown.
Blackness.
Blackness. Yeah. Yeah, to me it also feels like there's like a depth, like it's like deep and even like sometimes the void feels heavy. Sometimes it feels like chaos. Sometimes it's quite raw or messy.
Yeah,
sometimes it feels like bliss. Cool. So again, I'm gonna this first part is just gonna be questions. We're gonna like brainstorm, see different things of what arises. So next thing, and I'd like you guys to share is what what triggers the void. And you might share in your own life, like what causes the void to happen. Is there anything that you can share? And invitation with your own experience, and also by speaking from like I have experienced this. Not only do we get to feel you more, creates more intimacy and connection, but also this is a big part of healing, because there might be, sometimes just in our expression, there's healing. So yeah, invitation for this next part of like, what triggers the void or the liquid state?
It's like I've experienced times where I'm like trying so hard and like struggling to like effort in a direction, and it's almost like a giving up maybe isn't the right feeling of it, but like a letting go and like a surrendering, like okay, like I don't know.
Yeah, so after like really trying hard and then like giving it up. I like the phrase, someone told me this about like giving it up. It's like actually giving it up to God. Right, where it's just like I'm just like like I surrender. Yeah. What else for you guys? Any specific moments you're willing to share about of like this is what triggered the liquid state for me?
Yeah, so when I think about what triggers that state, I think of like kind of major life events like starts and stops. So like starting school, finishing school, like taking on a new job, becoming a parent, getting married, um, any like kind of transitional thing like that.
Yeah.
Um, I really like what Eloane said about surrender. For me, how I currently conceptualize that is there's this life trigger, you're in the void, and then ideally for me, I surrender to that experience and see where it takes me.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you for sharing.
I think I'm hung up on the word trigger because the words I came up with that resonated the most were potential, unknown, calm, and stillness. So that idea of like moving around too much or doing that, like how would you trigger stillness? But it feels like to get there, it is the surrender or the relax of being in the stillness to get to that void,
Yeah.
that space in between.
Cool. Cool. Yeah. Thank you for sharing. I'll share in my life that the catalyst for getting in the liquid state, also very similar to what Carrie said. It's like the big life events, you know. So when I was like 22, I got diagnosed with Crohn's disease. That was a huge liquid state for me. I was like, what the fuck now? Like, what do I do? You know, and I'll say that I've been in a lot of liquid states. As time goes on, my commitment to evolution, to consciousness, to growing up, there's a lot of things that cause a liquid state. So being in programs for me creates a liquid state. Like I just did a men's retreat with some world-class facilitators, and it really really got me into to the void. I sat in an all-night Wachuma ceremony last Wednesday, and that really brought me into a void. And so it does feel like these like big events are the catalyst, but then also now I know more and more there are even these like mini micro liquid states that can happen. Maybe observing something in nature, looking into someone's eyes, or praying. But typically when we think of void, it's like these bigger things. I want to share an idea of like what this liquid state is to me, kind of give us maybe a little framework of that I think will help make more sense. So we have these identities. In one work that I do, it's called the box, right? We have our box, and it's an identity. It could be called the ego. It could be called our worldview. It could be called our belief system. For sure, a big part of the box is to keep us safe, right? It's a defense system to keep us safe, because when we know, right, like when we're, it's a little bit of an illusion, but like the familiar is safe. This is why there's a lot of people that will continue to do things that are super painful, but it's familiar, right? So there's like there's a little bit of an illusion. Some people think like humans are meant to seek comfort over discomfort. And that's not even necessarily true. It's actually that we seek the familiar over the unfamiliar. And a lot of times the familiar might be a really uncomfortable familiar, but it's like better than the unknown, better than the mystery. So our box is our defense system. We build this box in childhood, right? And it has all these belief systems of like, in order to get love, I have to be perfect, or, or men are not safe to be around, or, the one religion is this, or there's so many different things. I just wanted to say what Randall, familiar discomfort is safer than the unknown comfort, or the journey between. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So our box, its strategy is to keep us safe. Our belief system, its strategy is to keep us safe. So we have these thoughts of like, this is the way. I'll share one of the way my box, when I was young, when I came out of college, it was like, my box is like, you get a good job that has a salary, that has health insurance. And my box was really certain. It was so certain that this is how it had to happen. And then through many liquid states, now I have a very different outlook on that. I have a very different outlook on what it looks like to work a 9 to 5 for a big corporation. opposite. It's like completely opposite. And it's through the liquid state that transformed. So we have this box, right? We have this paradigm, this worldview, these belief systems, and then usually something happens. Sometimes it's what we choose, right? So it's like we might choose an initiation of some sorts that will cause the liquid state to happen, right? Or we're given these initiations to cause the liquid state to happen. So this is a big one to think about. Like often it's initiations, AKA evolutionary processes that cause us to go into the void. And they can be right? So on Friday, I'm going into the Amazon jungle and I'm fasting for 7 days while working with plant medicine, like 4-day dry fast. Never done this in my life. Big initiation. I'm choosing it, you know? And hey there, Desiree, welcome. And then the given initiations, this is another thing to think about and remember, is that we are meant to evolve. Like God, the universe wants us to evolve. This is true for every living being. Everything evolves or it stops, right? So it's like we're meant to evolve. So if we don't choose some type of initiation, and it doesn't have to be super extreme, right? If we don't choose an initiation, often God will give us an initiation. Often the universe, if the word God doesn't work for you, then the universe will give us an initiation, or life will give us an initiation. So I'll share, and I would love for all of us to share, to just like really understand this concept. Share one chosen initiation that you've done in your life. Maybe it's recent, maybe not. And then share one kind of given initiation. So I'll go first to help you understand. I already talked about these. Chosen initiation. A big one for me is going in, like what I'm about to do. I'm choosing to go into the jungle. Yeah, amen, Desiree. I'm choosing to go into the jungle. I'm choosing to dry fast for 4 days. I'm choosing to work with plant medicine. I'm choosing to be in isolation. It's going to be a big fucking initiation. And there's fear too. Like I for sure have some fear going into it. There's such an unknown, it's such a mystery. So this is really bringing me into the void. And I'm already, even though I haven't started the fast, the liquid state, I'm already in it. Because I'm like, whoa, what's happening? Like, what's going to happen? Who am I going to become? Yeah. And then a given initiation has been, I shared this already. I got diagnosed with Crohn's disease when I was 22. I got diagnosed with type 1 diabetes when I was 27. You know, definitely caused the liquid state again. Definitely created evolution in my life, you know, and there's things where it's like, these are some of the most challenging moments in my life. But also when I really look back at my evolution, my growth, these have been the biggest catalysts for change, the biggest catalysts for evolution. So I'd love for us to share, each person, and it could be big or small. What's a chosen initiation that you've partaken in, and what's a given initiation that kind of the universe has given you, if you're willing to share.
It's kind of hard to think about one chosen one. I was like, I ran 250 miles earlier this year in May, but then I joined an apprenticeship with a coach I was working with, and we had an immersion that turned out to be like 2 weeks after that race. So May was big. There was a lot of chosen changes that upset my life.
Did you feel like you were in the void? Did you feel like you were in the void in those, like in those things that you did? Did you kind of feel a little bit of like the old structure, the old beliefs kind of faded?
Oh yeah. A part of me knew it was going to happen. Like there was a lot of reoccurring calendar events and like the structure I'd held in my life. And I ended those with the race because I was like, here's a week that I'm not going to have them, but also I just know I'm going to be different when I come back. Like I literally came home to like an almost blank calendar. I'm still figuring out what the new structure looks like.
Yep. Perfect.
And the gifted initiation was dating a narcissist several years ago for 2 full years. A lot of change and catalyst there, but so many good lessons that I would never thank him for. But I can look back and be like, all of this stemmed from that period of time in my life, and a lot of positive came out of it, but really in the thick of it when it was going on.
You also, yeah, for sure. And I also heard you say earlier, like you talked about trust, you know, and you don't necessarily have to thank him for it, but there is something of like, I trust that this happened not to me, but for me. And I hear that you got a lot out of it, and it created a lot. So that's an interesting thing to look at. And this is a view of really like, wow, thank you, universe. Thank you, God, for giving me even the challenging moments. Yeah, cool.
Yeah, it
Thank you.
felt like a catalyst. There was a lot of lessons smashed into those 2 years that was like a huge acceleration, but needed a lot of hindsight to decide
Yeah,
that
totally.
accurate.
That's part of the liquid state too. When you're in it, it's like, okay, this is something I want to share too. The only problem with the void or the liquid state is when you don't know that you're in it. That's the only problem with it, is when you don't know that you're in it. When you're able to be like, whoa, I'm so liquid right now, it ends up not being such a problem, because you're like, I know that the next box that's going to form, because that's what happens. We go solid, we melt down, and then we take a new shape. You know, it's like gold coins. If I melt gold coins down, then they have like no structure, but then I can form it into a statue of Mary. And then it becomes not just the gold coins, it becomes this thing that can help awaken the hearts of people, right? So it's like, when you're in it, if you realize I'm liquid right now, it's not going to cause as much suffering, because you realize that the next form is going to be evolutionary. If evolution is what you're looking for. Yeah, Carrie.
Difference between floating and trying to swim upstream, kind of.
Floating. Yeah. Yeah. It's a good analogy. Carrie, what were you going to say?
Yeah, so I have a question. So even if you know you're in the liquid state, what if you don't know what you're gonna like sculpt or form that liquid into? Because that's scary.
You don't. You typically don't.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just
you don't.
surrender to it, like people are saying.
This is where the surrender, let go, trust really comes in. For me, like, one of the most powerful things is prayer. Prayer is a super big part of my life. You don't have to be a certain religion to pray. You can pray to whatever you want. You can pray to earth. You can pray to the sun. You can pray to God. You can pray to the universe. This is something that really helps a lot. Yeah. Carrie, do you want to share your chosen and given initiations? Chosen and
Oh yeah,
gifted.
I'd almost forgotten about that. There's a few correspondences here. So chosen, like 2 weeks ago, I participated in a ketamine ceremony event. And that I'm still processing that because I feel like my brain scrambled and like I'm pushed and pulled in two different ways like after that. So yeah, I'm still processing. I'm still like talking with some people about integration, but it sort of like changed up my worldview, like not in a necessarily positive way, but in a way I was like, whoa. Okay.
I have a question about that, Carrie, if you're willing to share. Can you share you said it changed my worldview, not necessarily
Yeah.
the way. I'm just really curious about like what shifted in your worldview, if you're willing to.
Okay. So I don't know if any of you know anything about St. Petersburg, Florida, but there is like this immense spiritual community here where literally every other person is a coach, a yoga instructor, a Reiki master, like a sound healer, like everyone is. So I am like prior to a few years ago, I was so outside of that, I didn't even see it, but now I'm like deep inside. And so after the ketamine thing, I felt pulled between like the world of before and like this healing, like kind of hippie community. And I'm like, I don't know where I belong. I don't know if I belong in either. So, yeah, I just, yeah,
The worldview, like the old world that you were kind of in, and now you're kind of seeing like you're feeling a little pull towards this other hippie healing world, and feeling like you're somewhere in between.
feeling in between, and that yeah, I'll just leave it at that. There's been some drama in the spiritual community here later, which is its own push and pull, but yeah, basically afterwards I'm like, I don't know, like I didn't even really realize this was here until a few years ago, and now I find myself like super immersed and like getting even more immersed into it, and like, do I fit in there? Like,
Yeah.
I feel like I was the odd man out here in that former world, am I still the odd person out? Like, where do I belong? Like, am I bridging it? Like, do I go full this way? Do I go back? Like, yeah, just confused.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that, Carrie. I have a question for if you're willing to go there. I'm curious if this is so this is the void that I sense that you're in. One of the voids is, do I belong? Do I fit
Yeah,
in?
yeah.
I'm curious if this is a void that that is familiar, like that you felt maybe when you were younger. Has this been a void that you've experienced before?
1000%. Yes.
Okay, cool. Can I share an invitation
Of course.
to really be the truest, that like really this is the time, like capital T truth,
Yeah.
to follow and live what's true for you, express yourself in a way that's true for you. You can try different things on to see how it lands and resonates, but you don't need to fit in anywhere, right? Like the more that you are Carrie, the more that you are true Carrie, the more that the tribe that's meant for you will come. And I also know, being in both worlds, that there are many people that are just like you, that are like, I'm not super hippie, blah, 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 but also I'm not like super in the other world, you know. The word I was going to use is matrix. There's maybe a little judgment in that word, but like, I'm not super matrixy, I'm not super hippie. Where do I fit in? And the reality is you fit in your truth and in your expression. And also this might just be part of the process, you know. As time goes on, you might start to resonate more with one group of people or the other, but like being true to you, this is the code, and this is really your purpose in life.
Yeah.
It's just finding what's true for you. Yeah.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
Yeah. You're welcome. Do you want to share your given initiation?
Yes. So I would say my given initiation, somewhat similar to Caitlin's, is the breakdown of my last relationship. And he was also a narcissist, so that was fun. But yeah, that has me kind of questioning everything now as well.
Yeah.
In a
Yeah.
different.
So know that you're in the liquid state. Know that you're going to get more clarity as time goes on. And a big piece too, this modern culture teaches us when we're in the liquid state to numb, to distract, to drink, to have the pills, to smoke the weed, to do whatever, to have sex, to like distract. And that tends to keep us in the old space, the old story. So really it's like let yourself feel. At the end of the month, I'm going to talk a lot more about emotional alchemy and what we can do with some of the feelings. But in the liquid state, there's usually a lot of feelings that arise. And then one more thing I want to share with you is your box. One of the beliefs is I don't really fit in.
Yeah.
And letting that old story also melt, and you can create this new decision. We'll talk a little bit more about this in my next class at the end of the month. But when you let that story melt and start to say, like, you know, whatever it is, whatever feels, and this is actually a homework assignment for you. Your old story, the old decision is I don't really fit in, and create a new decision that feels empowering, that you can start to really repeat to yourself, and like let it be an affirmation. And it might be like, I don't know, the thing that I'm feeling is like, my vibe attracts my tribe, you know, like my truth attracts my tribe.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I can see that, like, if you start to call in that decision, then you're going to really find the community that fits where you're at right now.
I love that.
Thank you. Desiree or Eloan, you want to share a chosen initiation and a gifted initiation? I like that, Caitlin. Gifted. I said given, but I like the idea of gifted initiation. Eloan, you want to go for it? You're unmuted.
Yeah, go for it. I would say my chosen initiations, like there's so many, right? But like these travel experiences, like the first time I like packed up all my things into a car and left Colorado and hit the road. The first time when I sold everything from that car and moved to Hawaii. And then when I like sold all those things and went to Asia for 2 years. So those kind of like jumps to new places as like initiations that I like felt called to and listened to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then my given initiation, like the biggest one was my mom's death last August.
Mhm. Thank you, brother. What was your mom's name?
Kim.
Bless Kim, and may the way you live your life continue to make Kim proud as a mother. Yeah, thank you, brother. Desiree, are you willing to share your chosen and gifted initiations that have brought you into the void?
Happy to. So my massive initiation was probably 10 years ago when my father passed away. And then from there, I created my own suffering for almost 8 to 10 years. And the symptom of that was being in a relationship that didn't serve me. And it took me coming out of that relationship after getting cheated on and also being textbook narcissistic, but I was choosing that relationship. It took me leaving that relationship to realize that I was creating these sufferings in my world. And so the initiation that I chose was, doing all the self-work, inner work, traveling to Peru, doing plant medicine, and just really emerging out of that liquid state.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you for sharing. Another thing that I just want to like bring up and talk about is for most people there's fear associated with being in the void, right? What's scary about it? Anyone can just go.
The unknown.
The unknown.
Yeah.
The
The unknown. The work.
Caitlin, what was it?
The lack of control.
The lack of control. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, there's something about the void that to me feels like death. And we also live in a culture that's very much like avoid death, right? Avoid death. We tend to not talk about it. Most people, yeah, Desiree, familiarity, feel safe. We tend to not talk about death. We tend to not watch death happen so much, right? And I'm saying we as a generalization of modern culture, right? It's like if someone's going to die, you send them to a hospital or nursing home, and let's prolong death as much as we can with different machines and things like this. And so death is just a topic that we tend to not think about so much or talk about so much or face so much. And the void is death, right? It's like the old box, the old paradigm dies when we get into the void, right? It's like the caterpillar. I mean, there's still life, but it dies while it goes into that goo state before it becomes a butterfly, but it's no longer a caterpillar, you know? And this is a big thing to get more comfortable with the void, with the liquid state, is getting more comfortable with death. And it's really interesting in Bhutan, they're considered one of the happiest nations on earth. I think that instead of measuring the success of the country, instead of GNP, gross national, what is it? Gross national product. Yeah, instead of GNP, they have like, it's like gross national happiness that they measure it by. And one of the things that is part of the culture of Bhutan is they meditate on death 5 times a day. They meditate like death is coming, we're going to die, you know? And in my own life too, this practice, it allows me to live so much fuller and be more okay when there are pieces of me that die. And it happens a lot, like because of this path of evolution that I'm committed to, like I'm devoted to this path of evolution. And having a connection with death, memento mori, having a connection with death has really helped me be okay when I have all these little deaths. There's a really beautiful, it's a musical poem from Trevor Hall and his wife. And it's something like, she says something like, I have attended 1,000 funerals of the woman that I once was. And it's just a really beautiful idea that like, if we're on this path of evolution, then we have to be willing to die again and again, and to be changed and to let it change. So this is a scary part of it. And one thing that has really helped me is doing some of these death meditations and contemplating it and realizing it. And also for me, like the medicine path, plant medicine, has also brought me to these spaces, and being diagnosed and having some hospitalizations has also brought me, you know, face to face with death. But even when another person dies in life, you know, for sure, there's sadness, there's heaviness, there's grief. And also death is a great teacher if we let it be.
I have so many questions about this.
Yeah, please.
Hearing you speak makes is stressing me out. Like, you may not have time for this, but can you give me an example of one type of death meditation?
Yeah, there's something called Maransati, and it's like a 9-point death meditation. You can look it up online, and yeah, and the idea is that we don't know when death is coming, right? Like we don't know, and no matter how rich or healthy or whatever, like everyone will die. There's some different points to it. And I also just want to acknowledge that you said that hearing me speak about it brings up a lot of anxiety for you, and I just want to like just yeah, if there's anything that you want to share about that, I want to just acknowledge and hold space for this.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, I've always feared it. I think probably that's very common. Also, it's been 5 years, almost to the day, since my father passed away. I did witness that, and it was one of the most horrible experiences of my life because he was suffering so much. Like I have 2 other sisters, and we were literally like, because we could tell he was like hanging on. And so my 2 sisters and I were just there, and we're like, it's okay to let go, Dad. It's okay to let go. But it was like horrifying seeing him like gasping and struggling and like.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. So this piece, this idea of death, there's something there for you, for sure. And I understand. Yeah, thank you for sharing. Yeah, and also I want to share that one of the things I'm talking about is also the metaphorical death.
Yeah.
And I have fear saying this, but I want to say it. When I heard you just say that, what's interesting is what came up for me when you said this is that the death itself, the moment of death, was not what was horrifying, but it was the moments before, like the suffering. And this is just something I got from it. Like the moment of death, yeah, yeah.
1,000%, 1,000%. Because he had always been so strong. So to see him like that and suffering and the lack of control was just like,
yeah,
almost felt like I was going insane, you know, because there was nothing I could do.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for sharing. Yeah, I think this can kind of be a segue to the next aspect that I want to share about is yeah, and just hearing some of the things. Thank you for bringing it into the space, Carrie, because I see like chills, that resonates heavily. So thank you for bringing that into the space. And also for me, it's like, thank you for being vulnerable and going there. And I feel you more now, you know, and intimacy is the medicine that will change the world. And we become intimate when we share some of these things. So thank you for your courage. Yeah. So the next piece I want to talk about is like being defensive against the void versus surfing the void. This could also be like defensiveness versus expansiveness, right? Defensiveness is when we just really want to hold on to our box. Like, no, maybe you might hear this. This is just the way I am. I heard someone say this recently. This is just the way I am. I'm not going to change. This is defensiveness. This is the opposite of evolutionary. Change is constant. We actually have no choice but to change, but we can resist change a lot. And resisting change is a big piece of suffering. I said it before, and again, like modern culture teaches us more of the defensiveness around the void, around the liquid state. Numb, distract yourself, get super involved. For men, it's like, oh, if you feel like you're going to go in the liquid state, drink beer, watch football, identify as a fan of the Kansas City Chiefs and make that the most important thing in your life, more important than your family, more important than anything else, right? This is a really good way to avoid evolution. When we know we're in the liquid state, this is the first step to having a little more acceptance of it, right? Like, okay, I'm in the liquid state. Like, let me grab my surfboard. And I will share that this is happening. Yeah. Antidepressants, anti-anxiety, pharmaceuticals prevented my evolution for sure. Because the like part of the evolutionary process is feeling. And again, this is what I'm going to go deep into it at the end of the month. But we are also living in a culture that says it's not okay to feel. Right? Anger is violent, it's destructive. Sadness is isolating, it's childish. Fear is for babies, and and like you're not solid or strong if you have fear. And joy, even joy, it's like this joy runs out. When will the other shoe drop? Or it's unrealistic, or it's childish, right? So we live in a modern culture that says it's not okay to feel. So again, it's like, and feelings are actually fuel for evolution. You can write that down now, plant the seed. We'll talk about it more at the end of the month. All of your feelings are fuel for evolution. They're fuel for change. So defensiveness versus expansiveness, right? Like surfing the void versus defending from going into the void. I'll share now that it wasn't always like this for me, but the more I've practiced choosing initiations, which bring me to the void, which bring me to the liquid state, the more I'm like, fuck yeah, liquid state. Let me grab the surfboard. Like, this isn't going to last forever. Let me surf. Let me ride this wave while it happens. And then on the other side, I'm like, wow, that was amazing. I know that's going to happen this week. Like, I know there's going to be I'm going to rub up against a lot of resistance. I'm going to share. I went on a men's retreat a week ago in the Sacred Valley. We're at like 9,000 foot altitude. I don't run at all. The guy that leads this retreat, he's like an everyday, like I train every day. This is part of his dojo. It's part of his mission is like, I don't take any days off. And so he invited me. He's like, we're going to take a run. Come with us tomorrow, 5 a.m. Fuck, 5 a.m. But also there's a part of me, I was like, I'm here to grow. I'm here to change. I haven't run a 5K in 15 years. I ran a 5K at 5 a.m. at 9,000 feet altitude. There was so much resistance while it was happening. And then eventually, and I'm going to share, these are some big codes. What happened for me, what I needed was prayer. Like, this was my way out, prayer and prayer. That really was it for me. Like, while I'm running, I'm saying mantras and I'm like, wow, thank you, God, for letting me have these legs. And then it also really helped. One of the guys that was running was like, we're just praying with our legs, bro. We're just praying with our legs. So what happened at first, there was a lot of resistance. And then I'm like, okay, this is a liquid state, right? I'm changing. The old paradigm says I'm not a runner, says I can't do things like this. So I'm in this liquid state where that's dissolving. And it got to the point where I'm like, I'm going to feel so good after this. Like, let's go. And this is what's happening now more and more as I choose these initiations, as I choose to go into the void. When I'm in the void, what at first was fucking terrifying and like dark and scary, and I'd have resistance. Now, when I find myself in the liquid state, especially if I'm aware of it, it really does take that moment of like, I am liquid right now. Like, I am in the void. I have such a different relationship to it, where I'm really in like, even when resistance comes up, I acknowledge I'm in the void, I pray, I trust, and then boom, I can accept it. To me, this is also a big code of like heaven and hell. When I'm resisting, doesn't matter if it's the void or just life in general. When I'm in resistance to what is, yeah, it's hell on earth. When I can accept what is, doesn't mean that I want more of it. Right. But when I accept it, because I can have intention, I can be like, no, I'm going to change this. This is not what I desire in my life. But when I can accept it, like, okay, but these are the cards that I've been dealt. This is heaven on earth. And to me, everything that we experience in life comes through as sensation. Everything you experience in life is sensation. The sun shining, a breakup, sex, plant medicine, all of it, right? Working, like all of it comes through as sensation. When we can slowly and gradually increase our ability to hold sensation, not just pleasure, right? Comfort and discomfort. When we can increase our ability to hold sensation, we find so much more freedom in life. So things like taking a cold shower, cool, there's benefits of the cold shower. There's benefits of ice bath for your body physiologically. And you're really working to be with intense sensation. So when other intense sensation comes up, for me, I'm not thrown off my center. I'm not thrown out of the present moment. So a lot of the chosen initiations, when I choose things that maybe are a little uncomfortable, when I choose to run the 5K, I did it one day and then I chose again 3 days later to run a 5K again at 5 in the morning, you know, and it actually was a little bit easier. I knew where the finish line was. There was a little bit less of the void. It was a little easier, but you know, I didn't necessarily want to do it, but I was like, this is it. Now I can have more staying power. I'm a better leader. I'm going to be a better father. I don't have kids yet. I'm going to be a better father with my ability to hold sensation, hold discomfort. So when I'm triggered by something, instead of freaking the fuck out, I'm able to be like, I'm here. Okay, cool. I'm noticing this. Right? This is a big part of the chosen initiation. This is a big part of surfing the liquid state, because the liquid state also does tend to have a lot of sensation, which is why often people will try to numb it. Because it's like, whoa, too much sensation. Whoa. Sometimes it is too much sensation for the nervous system, right? This is trauma. Sometimes it is too much sensation for the nervous system. And sometimes it can help to have some kind of allies. You know, my invitation is allies that are herbs and things that are natural from the earth, and community and coaches and mentors, right? But we're not meant to do it all alone. Yeah, I think that completes that thought. In some ways, I'm going back into the liquid, already helping me acknowledge it in some way. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that was. I didn't have a plan to say that, but it feels really true. Take a breath in. Let it go. A few more things that I want to share. This is along the same lines. The liquid state, the void, often it's messy. It's messy. We live also in a culture that says, put your mask on, create the facade, like don't let people see your mess. Don't let people see your mess. One of my mentors said this to me, and it like struck something deep inside me. Said, you have two options. Yeah, you're right. Elon, got to be peacocking all the time. Yeah, 100%. My mentor said there's two options. You can be on the looking good team, or you can be on the learning team. You won't be able to be on both. You get to decide. If you're on the looking good team, you're going to hold tightly onto the box. The void, the liquid state is going to feel terrible. But if you're on the learning team, then the liquid state actually becomes a little invitation. It's like, wow, what can I do tomorrow to get a little liquid? Can I hold a forearm plank for 5 minutes just because? Can I take a cold shower tomorrow to get into that liquid state, even if it's just a little bit? Because I'm on the learning team, I'm on the evolutionary team. And I don't even want to say that one's good or bad. Like, I think this is one of it's a challenge when we judge things that are good or bad. It's not good or bad to be on the learning team or the looking good team. They will have certain consequences. And which consequence are we choosing? What would we rather have? I spoke to this a little bit earlier. to me, I've been on a spiritual path for a while. That's been a continual evolution also of what that looks like, what that is. My relationship with God, the God that I connect with, right? So not a God of a certain religion, maybe a God of all religions. Perhaps that's actually what it is. I have a really deep connection with God. I pray. I travel a lot. I set up my altar. I pray every day. And my connection to God has really profoundly helped me navigate evolution, navigate challenge, navigate the void state. And Caitlin, you talked about it earlier. And for me, it's like, how much can I trust? How much can I, capital T, trust? Because there's moments where, I'm in the liquid state and I'm like, I'll give an example of right now. I've been like in back to back containers. I lead yoga teacher training. It's coming up really soon. There's 4 people signed up for a space that holds 14, right? 12 to 14. And it's uncomfortable for me because there's a lot of things that I'm like, whoa, I'm about to go offline for 7 days, and because of my relationship with God, and I have to really check myself on this because I can spiritually bypass too, right? And be like, it's all okay. It's okay. It's all going to be okay. So I'm noticing actually some pain that I haven't promoted the way that I could have. I don't want to say should, but I could have. I could be in a different position. There could be a lot more people signed up. And I have such a trust in God that the people that are meant to be there will be there. And it's been a beautiful thing, like to really have trust. Also my sharing, like I want to share this too, even coming into this space today. Yeah. Full transparency. I thought that I was going to present the thing that I'm presenting at the end of July until an hour and a half ago, where I realized that it was actually, this one is now and that one's there. And I was like, wow, actually beautiful. Like, thank you, God, for this opportunity to not over plan things. And, and even when I share and when I serve, it's like, can God just flow through me? My life, I really work like, God, use me, God, use me, let spirit flow through me. And a lot of the work, quote unquote, is clearing my channel so that God can flow through me. When I allow this to happen, it's like, wow, God has such a beautiful plan for my life. It doesn't mean I can't take action. It doesn't mean, like, aligned action is important, right? But this is a big thing that has allowed me not only to navigate the liquid states and the void, but just to show up more fully in life. And it's a big code, is this prayer. And I shared earlier that intimacy is the medicine that will change the world. I believe this deeply. So much of this work is getting intimate with the infinite. This feels feels like I'm pretty complete with what wants to come through, and I'm open to questions for the next 10 12 minutes or so. Also just want to say thank you for having me. Thank you for your presence. Thank you for your participation. Thank you, God, for the technology that allows us to connect from all these different places in the world. Like I'm in Peru right now. I'm so far, and to be able to do this, and I really just want to take a moment of prayer, and you can, if this resonates, you can do it with me or not, but just a moment to really thank the land that I'm on. I'm so grateful for this land, so grateful for the codes that I'm receiving from this land. Thank you, God, for the people of this land, the people of Peru that are such amazing people, and all those that have come before me on this land. I realize that I am an outsider to this, and I come with great respect. Thank you, God, for all the different medicines that I've experienced in life, the medicines that come in a really enjoyable space, like dancing and singing, and the medicines that have come from a very uncomfortable space, like challenging relationships and challenging partners. Thank you, God, for the medicine of health. Thank you, God, for the medicine of dis-ease. Thank you, God, for giving me spaces and places and platforms to share, to express, to be a channel. Thank you, God, for the beautiful beings on this call, the beautiful beings that are watching the recording. May they continue to evolve. May they continue to walk into the void with an open heart, with the surfboard in hand, knowing that all of it is evolutionary. Even when it's challenging, even when it feels like we're in the mud, may we remember that we're actually lotuses that are getting ready to bloom. Aho. Thank you.
Before we go into questions, let's just all take ourselves off of mute and do our metamorphosis chrysalis thing, rubbing your hands together. Now then you can just receive this if you want. And we say Ashtahe. Translates to I am you being me.
Thank you.
Questions or reflections or things words that want to be said? Okay. Bye, Desiree.
Amazing. Ecstatic dance and DJ training. Wow. Beautiful. Enjoy.
In them decks.
I have kind of like a random question. So you keep mentioning like codes. I've never heard that term before. Can you explain that?
Yeah. What's another way that I would explain it? I would say like messages and teachings that I'm receiving that are true.
Like downloads?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
Downloads. Yeah. Codes would be another word for downloads. Yeah.
You download the code and then you share the code.
Yeah. Yeah.
I almost think of codes also as like frameworks or like ideas or like ways of being or something like, and I envision it almost as like it can be energetically transmitted like through words and talking, but it's like now I'm like understanding something more deeply through receiving this. It's almost like receiving a transmission.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That is in the hippie spiritual community something strong. So Carrie still dancing between the realms.
I feel like downloads is also, that's if I say some of these words around my parents and they're like, what are you talking about? Nobody understands these things. Like, Mom, one day. Yeah.
A question around like what to do if you're resisting the liquid state. If I'm resisting, I'm like in resistance a lot of my life, and I know it causes me a lot of suffering, and it's still like I still find it there. I'm just like, yeah, maybe I go slow, maybe I'm resistant. So what to do in the state of resistance? And you're like, here's a liquid state that could be, but I'm resisting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think remembering the like having the devotion to the evolutionary process, praying, really trusting God. These are tools that I've used that help a lot, that help me a lot. Also just acknowledging the resistance that's happening. And it's like really getting clear on that. And also recognizing, so one of the things I've noticed in my life is the more that I feel pain of a certain way of being, actually that feeling the pain is the catalyst that allows me to change. So if I numb myself, if I numb the pain of doing something a certain way, if I don't really let myself feel the pain of like, wow, resistance fucking hurts. And like, feeling it, then eventually we make a change. It's an interesting dynamic that I've noticed in a lot of human beings is like, in order to change things, we have to feel the pain of it. And when so much of us, we'll talk about this at the end of July, live at such a high level of numbness, right? Like it takes fucking rock bottom sometimes to make a change, but it doesn't have to. If we lower the numbness bar, if we notice each of us has different ways that we numb ourselves. If we lower the numbness bar, so instead of feeling, not feeling big pain until it gets to, like, we don't feel anything until it gets to 70%. When we lower the numbness bar, it's like, wow, actually I'm feeling this 10% anger. And it's like, there's a lot of wisdom here. And that is informing me to make a change. And it's informing me to stop something and start something. But if I'm just keep numbing myself, then it's like, it takes me to explode or implode before I feel enough to make the change. So I think that's a big one too, is like when you're in resistance, notice, and like, what's the drug that you tend to work with or use? And yeah, and it's really specific to you.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. I heard someone say I have a high bottom, and I decided to adopt that, like a high rock bottom.
Yeah, like my rock bottom is actually quite high, so I will change quickly.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. Yeah, and a big part of that is like sensitivity. It's this is another thing that a lot of people associate sensitivity with weakness, but actually sensitivity is a superpower. It means we're going to feel more, but we're also going to like very quickly be able to determine, is this food the right food for me? Is this community the right community for me? Is this relationship the right relationship? Is this job the right job? As we're more sensitive. If we're not sensitive to it, we might be in a relationship for 4 years that doesn't serve. We might be in a job for 30 years that doesn't serve. And I see this in a lot of people and that work like 9 to 5 jobs. Like 9 to 5, what do you do after work? I lived in New York City for a year. Almost everyone that I knew, right after work, you'd go to happy hour. Happy hour. Like, what a fucking joke that is. I actually feel anger in me. I'm sensitive to the anger in me that we have something called happy hour where people just drink alcohol to numb actually how miserable 8 hours of their life just were. And I can do something with that anger now, right? Anger is evolutionary. So I can bring awareness to more people that are living this life, not through judgment or shame, but through just expression and education. It doesn't have to be this way. Any other questions, thoughts, anything that you want to share? I'd also love, if you're open to it, just some feedback of like, yeah, any feedback that you have for me, both something that worked well from what I shared and maybe an opportunity for growth. This is part of the evolutionary path too. It's really being open for feedback. So if you have any for me, I would be glad to receive it. And I almost invite the like one thing that really worked well and then one opportunity for growth, one thing that could be better.
I think what I really appreciated the most wasn't like what you delivered, although I love that, but how you delivered it. I felt like you're just being like really open and really honest and real. And that was the most powerful thing that came through for me. I don't know if I have a suggestion for improvement. I'll think on that for a second.
Thank you. One thing that I'm aware of that like the feedback that I'm curious about for myself is when you shared that my words were making you feel really anxious, and I'm wondering if there's a way for me to deliver that topic that, and I'm okay with causing some discomfort, like that's part of the process. It's part of like standing true. But I wonder if there's a way that maybe would have been like less activating, or did I support you enough after you felt the activation? Because this is something that's in my mind. Like, did I hold the space enough that helped you? It's okay if there's activation. Did it help you land back down?
Yeah, no, I think it was perfect because I think it's helpful, like you're saying, to acknowledge my feelings, to acknowledge the anxiety so that I can work through that. You were talking about how in this culture, we don't like to think about death, talk about death, anything. So if I'm always just like avoiding thinking about it or talking about it, thinking about the void, then, you know, I can't grow. I can't move forward. I'm just going to be stuck in that fear. So yeah, totally felt supported, felt like it was really useful for me to see that, and for you to like also acknowledge that and validate it.
Cool. Thank you. Thank you for that. I just want to share, Randall in the chat said the happy hours are also social events, but they're centered around alcohol. So yeah, brother, like community is such a nutrient, and intimacy, like real community, real connection is such a nutrient. And man, I love that. I imagine in the new world, there's going to be cities where we're going to go and after work, we'll have cacao ceremonies and, you know, and sharing circles and sing some songs together and, you know, sober dance parties, things like this. So until then, we can create it ourselves little by little.
I really appreciated how you I felt your connection to the field. I mean, I loved the intro circle, and like when you like put this in the golden box, I was immediately like felt you and everyone really deeply. So I really appreciated that. And just yeah, to feel like the channel flow. And that you just dropped a lot of like strong things very quickly. I don't know. It's also hard for me to think of like anything challenging. Maybe like a lot of like really powerful codes like spoken really fast. But that's kind of a stretch for something.
That's good feedback, bro. And that's feedback I've heard before.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Can I get it in? Like, can I write that fast enough?
Elon, what did you say? The codes can be what?
They were just like delivered really fast. Like the information
Oh,
was
delivered
and
fast.
words
Okay,
were
gotcha.
quickly delivered.
Yeah, this is feedback I've gotten before. So thank you. That's good feedback. Yeah, I'll share too the battle for me. Like I would love to be able to have like, here are the 10 main things I'm going to talk about, but because a lot of how I've been facilitating for some time now, and really my way of facilitation now is like, let me just tune into what's emerging in the field and channel. So I don't get to have those like, here are the 10 things about the void. But yeah, I'll see about that.
Yeah, it's not great feedback for growth because I don't feel like there was actually anything that didn't work for me. I appreciate how you structured it in that it felt like your timing was really good with the balance of channeling and allowing for, I mean, the conversation you said that we were all going to have in that structure, but when things needed to pivot or we needed to go deeper in a different direction, that space was there. And it felt like when we wrapped this up and ended it, there wasn't anything we didn't touch on or got left out. It felt like it just wrapped up in perfect timing. So
Thank you, Caitlin.
it all worked well.
Thank you.
Sorry, I can't help you grow there. I think it worked well.
Feedback, like positive feedback also obviously is a really big growth point, because it's like, okay, let me keep doing these things. Let me keep, you know, putting more energy into these things. So I really appreciate it. And yeah, I'm really excited to be back in this container in a few weeks, and I'm going to be in many liquid states before then. One thing I'll ask is for some prayers to think of me when I'm in the jungle next week. It's this Friday till next Friday. Yeah. So any prayers that you have for me, if you ever think of me or light a candle or something like this, it'd be really appreciated. And also even just saying that, I trust that it's somewhere in your being that that it'll happen. And yeah, thank you so much for being here and being present. And also just want to share to you guys that are in this container and in this program, thank you for investing in yourself. And thank you for, you know, there's a lot of like self-love and self-worth that is reflected when you invest in something like this. So thank you for loving yourself enough to say yes to this. And may you get what you need out of this. May you really get what you need, and may you experience the liquid state so that there is evolution, there is transformation. Investing in something like this is such a sign that actually we do want to be in the void. A lot of times we want to skip the void space. We want to go right to like, what's the next level of myself? But we have to remember that the void is part of it. And yeah, that space is part of it. So thank you. Bless you.
And yeah, just to plant it in this field, it's Thursday, July 25th, Navigating the Void. It's like a public masterclass. So of course y'all are welcome, but it's also for the public.
This one's
Yeah.
navigating. It's going to be emotional alchemy.
Okay, cool. There you go.
Yeah. Yeah. It's going to be great. It's going to be like new paradigm, new maps of what feelings are and how we can use our feelings as fuel to create evolution. It's one of my favorite things to teach. It's been a thing that changed my life and also even healed, like doing conscious anger work because I was given this map really reversed Crohn's disease in like a week. It was a really wild experience. So I feel pretty connected to it. It's not the only thing. It's not the only thing, but definitely one of the things that had really big impact. All right. Ciao.
Thank you.
Hello.
Everybody.
Dissolving the box, letting the box go.